There's a meeting you've been in. Maybe you were in it last week. The stakes are high, the room is tense, and one person can't stop talking. They fill every silence. They explain their reasoning before anyone asks for it. They defend a position nobody has attacked yet. And the more they talk, the smaller they get. Everyone in that room is quietly recalculating their opinion of this person in real time. Now picture the other one, the one who said almost nothing, who let the room talk itself out, watched, listened, and then, only when it mattered, said one clean sentence that ended the discussion. You remember that person. You don't remember what the loud one said. Here's what almost nobody tells you about performing under pressure. The instinct to talk is the instinct that betrays you. When stakes rise, your nervous system wants to discharge the tension, and the fastest way to discharge it is through your mouth. You explain. You justify. You announce. It feels like strength. It feels like control. It is the opposite of both. The people who consistently win in high-pressure environments, the negotiators, the operators, the leaders who get the room without raising their voice, have all learned the same uncomfortable skill. They've learned to say nothing, not nothing as in passivity, nothing as in discipline, strategic silence, the deliberate refusal to spend words you don't need to spend. This isn't about being shy or introverted. Some of the quietest performers I've watched are perfectly capable of commanding a room. They just don't do it by accident, and they don't do it on impulse. They've made silence a tool instead of a fear. So let's take this apart. Because the discipline of saying nothing has layers, and each one solves a specific failure that costs ordinary people the moment they need composure most. Start with the physical truth because everything else is built on it. Pressure is energy that needs somewhere to go. When the stakes spike, a hard question, a confrontation, a number that just dropped, your body floods with stress chemistry. Heart rate up, breathing shallow, and your brain, desperate to relieve that internal pressure, reaches for the nearest valve. For most people, that valve is speech. You start talking before you've decided what you want. You over-explain. You answer questions that weren't asked. You give away your reasoning, your timeline, your weak spots, all because the silence felt unbearable and talking made the discomfort go away for a moment. This is the part people miss. Talking under pressure isn't communication. It's relief. You're not informing the other person. You're soothing yourself. And the cost of that self-soothing is enormous, because every word you spend to calm your own nerves is information the other side now has for free. The Stoics understood this centuries before we had the neuroscience. Epictetus put it plainly, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. People treat that like a cute proverb. It isn't. It's a tactical instruction. The person listening is gathering. The person talking is spending. Watch any high-stakes negotiation and you'll see it. The amateur fills the silence. The professional lets it sit, because they know silence is uncomfortable for everyone. And the person who breaks first is the person who reveals more. So the first discipline is simply this. When pressure rises and you feel the urge to talk, recognize what that urge actually is. It is not insight arriving. It is tension leaving. And tension leaving through your mouth almost always costs you. The trained response is to let the pressure sit in your chest, breathe through it, and let the silence do the work you were about to do badly. You don't have to win the moment by speaking. You usually win it by waiting. Here's a trap that's quieter and more dangerous because it doesn't feel like a mistake at all. It feels like progress. You decide to do something difficult, change a habit, build something, make a hard move, and the first thing you do is tell people about it. You announce the goal. And the moment you announce it, something strange happens in your brain. You get a hit of reward. People nod. Some of them are impressed, and that small social approval registers neurologically as if you've already done part of the work. You haven't done anything, but your brain doesn't fully know the difference between being recognized for a goal and being recognized for an achievement. So it banks the reward early, and the drive that was supposed to push you through the actual effort quietly deflates. This is why the people who talk the most about what they're going to do are so often the ones who never do it. They're not lying. They genuinely intended to. But they spent the motivation at the announcement, and there was nothing left for the work. The quiet performer does the opposite. They keep the goal hidden, sometimes uncomfortably so, because they understand that the reward has to come from the doing, not the saying. They'd rather let people be surprised by the result than impressed by the intention. There's a reason the most disciplined people you know are often strangely private about their plans. It's not modesty, it's strategy. They've learned that an unannounced goal stays hungry. A broadcast goal gets fed before it's earned, and a fed goal stops chasing. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you should waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. Notice the structure of that. Not declare it, not announce it. Be it. Quietly, without the audience, because the audience is part of the trap. So the second discipline is to protect your intentions, like they're fragile, because they are. The work is hard enough without spending your fuel on applause you didn't earn yet. Say nothing. Build in silence. Let the finished thing be the announcement. Now flip it from defense to offense, because saying nothing isn't only about protecting yourself. It's one of the most effective things you can actually do to the other person. When you stop filling space, you create a vacuum. And people cannot stand a vacuum. Ask a hard question, then go quiet, and watch what happens. The other person starts talking to fill the silence. And the longer they talk to fill it, the more they reveal their real position, their pressure, the thing they didn't plan to say. The amateur, terrified of the awkward pause, rescues them, jumps in, softens it, takes the other person off the hook. The professional sits in the discomfort and lets it work. This is why the best interviewers, the best negotiators, the best leaders ask a question and then simply wait. They understand that silence is not empty. Silence is leverage. The person who is comfortable saying nothing controls the tempo of the entire interaction because everyone else is reacting to the space they've left open. Think about the last time you were in a tough conversation and someone just looked at you and didn't respond. How quickly did you start explaining yourself? How much did you give away in those few seconds just to make the silence stop? That tool can be yours. It costs nothing and it requires only one thing: the nerve to let a moment stay uncomfortable without rushing to fix it. Seneca said that a great part of wisdom is knowing when to hold your tongue. He didn't mean it as politeness. He meant it as power. The held tongue is the one that hasn't given anything away. The one that keeps the other person guessing. The one that lets you read the room before the room reads you. So the third discipline is to treat silence as something you do on purpose, with intention, aimed at a result. When you're tempted to fill the gap, don't. Let it stretch. Let the other person walk into it. You'll learn more from what they say to break the silence than from anything you could have said to avoid it. Every time you react out loud, you teach people exactly how to move you. This is the part that quietly determines whether you have authority or whether you just have a title. When something lands, a provocation, a jab, a piece of bad news delivered to get a rise out of you, and you react visibly, you've just shown everyone watching where your buttons are and how hard they need to press. You've handed them the map, and people remember that map. They'll use it the next time they want you off balance. The composed performer absorbs the hit without broadcasting it. Not because they don't feel it, feeling it is human, but because they've separated feeling the thing from announcing the feeling. There's a gap between stimulus and response, and the entire discipline lives inside that gap. The untrained person has no gap. Something happens, and the reaction is out of their mouth before thought arrives. The trained person has built a half-second of space, and in that space they choose. They decide whether this is worth a response at all. Most things aren't. Most provocations are designed to make you spend energy, and the cleanest way to win is to refuse the transaction entirely. Say nothing. Let the provocation hang in the air with no oxygen, and watch it die. This is exactly what the Stoics meant when they talked about what's in your control. The event isn't yours. Someone else's attempt to rattle you isn't yours. But your response, whether you give them the reaction they came for, that's entirely yours, and it's the one piece of the exchange you fully own. When you react loudly, you give that piece away. When you stay quiet, you keep it. And keeping it is what composure actually is, not the absence of feeling, the refusal to perform it on command. So the fourth discipline is to make your reactions expensive. Don't give them away for free to anyone who pokes at you. Let people wonder whether they got to you. The uncertainty alone shifts the power back to your side of the table, because a person who can't read your reaction can't plan their next move. There's a long game reason for all of this, and it's the one that compounds. Over time, the person who speaks less but speaks well becomes the person whose words carry weight. Think about how attention actually works in a room. If someone talks constantly, their words become background noise. People stop leaning in because there's always more coming, so nothing any single sentence says feels urgent. But the person who is mostly quiet, when they finally speak, the whole room recalibrates. Everyone turns. Because experience has taught them that this person doesn't waste words, so if they're choosing to spend them now, it matters. That's authority. And you'll notice it has nothing to do with volume. Real authority is quiet, because it doesn't need to convince you it's there. The loud bid for control is almost always a tell that the control isn't real. The person who has it doesn't need to perform it. This is why so many genuinely powerful operators are understated to the point of being easy to underestimate. They've figured out that being underestimated is an advantage, not an insult. Let people think you have less than you do. Let them talk while you listen. Let them fill the record with their positions while yours stays clean. When the decisive moment comes, you'll be the one holding information and composure while everyone else has spent both. There's an old line that the Stoics lived by, that the measure of a person is what they do, not what they say they'll do. Reputation built on talk is fragile, because talk can always be checked against reality and found short. Reputation built on quiet competence is durable because it was never a claim in the first place, it was just true. So the fifth discipline is to play the long game on purpose. Resist the short-term hit of being seen as impressive today. Trade it for the long-term position of being the person whose few words actually move things. Volume gets attention for a minute. Quiet earns trust for years. And under real pressure, trust is the only currency that holds its value. None of this works as a concept. It only works as a trained reflex because pressure doesn't give you time to consult your principles. It demands an instant response, and whatever you've trained is what shows up. So here is how you actually build it. Start with one rule you can use tomorrow. When you feel the urge to speak under pressure, take one full breath before you do. One breath. That single pause is where the entire discipline lives, because it converts an impulse into a choice. Most of the words that cost you are spoken inside the half-second you didn't pause. Insert the breath, and you reclaim that half-second. Second, practice letting silences last one beat longer than is comfortable. In normal, low-stakes conversations, that's where you train, not in the high-stakes moment. Ask something, then count one before you add anything. Let the other person fill it. You're building tolerance for the discomfort of silence so that when it matters, the discomfort doesn't run you. Third, stop announcing. For the next month, pick one goal that matters and tell no one. Do the work in private. Let yourself feel the strange pull to share it. And don't. Notice that the goal stays hungrier when it's unfed by approval. That hunger is the fuel you usually give away. Fourth, when someone tries to provoke you, make non-reaction your default. Not coldness, just a steady, unbothered quiet that refuses the bait. You'll feel the pull to fire back. Let it pass. The provocation dies without your reaction to feed it, and you keep the one thing that was actually yours. And finally, audit your words at the end of the day. Ask one question. Where did I speak to relieve my own tension instead of to accomplish something? That's the leak. Find it. And over time, it closes. Marcus Aurelius kept a private journal precisely for this. Not to perform his thinking for anyone, but to train himself in silence, where the real work always happens. The discipline of saying nothing isn't natural. Every instinct in a pressured moment pushes the other way. But it's trainable, like any skill, and the people who train it gain something most never will. The ability to stay whole when everyone around them is spending themselves on noise. So come back to that meeting from the beginning. The loud one, shrinking with every word. The quiet one, growing with every silence. The difference between them was never confidence or intelligence. It was discipline, the specific trainable discipline of refusing to spend words they didn't need to spend. Under pressure, the loud instinct feels like strength and is actually a leak. The quiet choice feels like weakness and is actually control. Saying nothing protects your position. It keeps your reactions your own. It forces others to reveal themselves while you stay clean. And over years, it builds the kind of authority that volume can never buy, because it was never a performance in the first place. You don't have to become a different person to do this. You just have to insert one breath, hold one silence, keep one goal to yourself, and refuse one piece of bait at a time. Start there. The people who win under pressure aren't the ones with the most to say. They're the ones who learned through discipline exactly when to say nothing at all. Be one of them, quietly.